Do you ever feel stuck thinking about things? You have some kind of problem or issue that you really want to think through, but you feel stuck in an endless loop or just stuck in one place, unable to actually think. I have a solution for you. A brain dump is a cheap and simple solution for clarifying our thoughts, collecting our thoughts, and decluttering our thoughts so that we can actually clear our mind and be free to problem solve creatively. A brain dump just means writing things down on paper. And many people, when I first tell them about this tactic, doubt that it will be helpful. It seems like it would be a waste of time. But this simple solution, just writing things down on paper, is the key to being able to think through something with greater insight and clarity. Today, I'm sharing a clip from one of our member-exclusive weekly seminars. A little bit ago, we did a whole month all about brain dumping, and this was one of our seminars where I shared about how to sort through your thoughts using a brain dump. And I want to share it with you today. So let's dig in. So, what the brain dump does is help us sort through what we're thinking. And that does include thinking. To sort through our thoughts, we have to actually think about our thoughts. But the brain dumping gives us a method for doing that, a process to follow, because sometimes, I will sit and think, okay, I'm going to think about, we need to think about this. I need to figure something out. And I just sit and try just thinking. And it's like, I'm thinking about next week's meal plan, which is not what I'm supposed to be thinking about. Or I'm thinking about just random, unrelated things to what I really need to be figuring out. So a brain dump is a great way to just channel our thoughts and stay on target. Because while you are thinking, the words on the page that you are seeing are keeping you focused and grounded in that one thing that you're thinking about. And as you think of options or connections or ideas, you have a place to hold them. And it just cues your mind and your thinking. It focuses, clarifies, because you see the words. So it just helps to bring your attention back to center, back to what you're really thinking about and trying to figure out. Because when we're just thinking just in our heads, we too easily get distracted with just imagination, distraction, picking up our phone, thinking about totally unrelated things, just starting to worry instead of actually thinking things through. It's really difficult to focus our attention and use it to process and sort through what we're thinking, what we need, and all of that. When there is so much to think about, whether it is on phone or paper, our brain does process it different, but doing some is better than not doing it. We can't wait for the ideal circumstances. We just use what we have where we're at now in order to move forward. And that means putting down words that your eyes can focus on to keep your attention. And then your mind starts working on connecting those words to ideas and to other important things that need to happen. Or you just start problem solving kind of automatically, because it is what our brains are for. It's one of the things that we have a brain to think things through, to process, to troubleshoot, to come up with creative solutions. And when we have the ability to keep one thing in mind, our brain can, go a certain direction, but come back to that and start connecting dots and thinking of ideas. And often it's not our first idea that is the best, but it just takes time and processing until you get to a place where your ideas actually start to become workable. That's why we talk about iterating so much, is because you need to get started before ideal circumstances arise and the ideal plan. And it's also through getting started that you generate better ideas and better plans and better skills. So it's the same with brain dumping. We need to just start and put some ideas down on paper, let ourselves come up with connections and those related creative problem-solving kind of thoughts. Not because the very first ones that come to mind are going to be what we need to do, but because, it takes 2 or 3 ideas or connections or times working the problem out in our minds before we start really experiencing clarity and insight and connecting all the dots, noticing the dots that we should be connecting. And then it can also really help us direct our prayers because, again, there's just there are concrete words that we can look at that help us focus our attention, because attention is hard and attention is not a skill that any of us really practice. So the brain dumps and having those words on paper right in front of our face is a tool that helps us build attention and keep attention. So it's not that the brain dump artifact, the paper or the note on your phone is something you need to keep. It's a tool, a method for helping you think. And so while you're thinking things through, having that in front of you is so, so helpful. Several people are saying that the brain dumps are kind of vague. Sometimes that's just where we are at. And it's a part of iterating, really, is that you can't get specific or see what's going on clearly, cut through the vague and get more specific until you get the vague out first. But you can, maybe this is where the mind mapping kind of technique might fit really well, is if you start vague. So at the top of the paper, whatever you think are your vague thoughts, and say, can I break this down into more concrete terms? Like if I say, I should be more kind. That's a vague, hopeful, aspirational goal that's you're never going to be able to check off, right? So it's like, well, if I feel that need, like I need to be more kind, that's a good impulse. And you can put kindness up at the top of the paper. And then start thinking, like, what are instances, not just in general, but think of specific instances or circumstances where you aren't kind, because that's where you have the opportunity most to practice being kind, right? Not when it's easy, but when it's hard, when you're noticing the opposite. So if you have like aspirational, vague, hopeful, idealist goals, put that concept goal, like kindness or self-control, faithfulness, those kind of fruit of the spirit goals that we might have. And then, try thinking through the opposite. When do I not have that? And not just, and try to be as specific and recent as possible. And then your mind can start connecting the dots and you can start coming up with a plan of action. Like maybe I just need a motto. Maybe I need something to say that becomes a habitual thing for me to say in these situations, because a part of my frustration or whatever is just that I don't know how to handle things. So if I just give myself a handle, a quick and easy motto to repeat, it's going to help me cope and follow through on what I really want to. And just to start moving in helpful directions after you identify what's really going on in your mind. If you are brain dumping, I feel like I'm not getting anywhere. I feel like my house is a mess. And it's like, well, what are the worst places that are bothering me? And then you get specific. So starting vague is an important part of brain dumping, because that really is where there's just so much going on in our minds, or we have vagueness because it isn't, what we're thinking is not actually grounded in truth and reality. It's a feeling that's just kind of welling up and filling up all of our mental space. And if we start identifying reality, specifics, concrete facts, we can maybe rein that feeling in and train it to recognize what's really going on by telling ourselves truth, noticing reality, and directing our energy where it needs to be. If you want to try brain dumping and getting more out of the process as you do brain dump in order to think things through in your life, then I have a free course for you that will help you do just that. I have a free guide, but this course goes even deeper and gives you step-by-step instructions to clear your head, cut through the muddle, and think creatively about the different situations in your life. You can get access to this free course by going to simplyconvivial.com/clarity. That's simplyconvivial.com/clarity to get some more clarity going in your head by clearing it out of the clutter. simplyconvivial.com/clarity. It's free and super helpful.